a beautiful stormy week here in our part of the world, and we are finally getting some much needed rain. I am inside catching up on some homemaking. My kitchen is one of the most used rooms of our home. Not only do I cook the majority of our meals at home, but I also create recipes for a living, which means lots of messes, from experiments and testing recipes and photographing, and of course the day-to-day. It could be a lot. So I try to do a good once-over at least one time a day, which consists of wiping off the counters, the cutting boards, the stovetop, and giving the sink a good scrubbing. Before bed and after dinner, I do a final cleaning so that I could put the kitchen right for the next day. This is all part of my daily homemaking routine and something that has created a lifelong habit. My overhead range needs a little attention today too. I use my natural all-purpose cleaner to wipe it free from the gunk that builds up. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I just want to say thank you really quick to all of you who have subscribed, who have been with me since the start, and who are brand new here. If you are brand new, I'm Roxana, and every single week I make videos on homemaking, simple living, and I share all sorts of recipes here. And if you haven't already subscribed and you love those topics, please hit that subscribe button. But I want to say a huge thank you to all of you who've been with me, who are new, for subscribing and for being in this space. We finally hit 10,000 this past weekend, and that was very exciting to see. And I know there's so many much larger channels than mine. We're still a baby channel, but just to see that number and to see that many of you have stuck with me and are brand new here and enjoying the content that I make, it means the world to me, and I just wanted to give you an extra special thank you and a shout out here for doing that. Last week's video got such great feedback, a lot of beautiful comments from a lot of you. So many of you shared your stories with me, and it was a homemaking video, and if you didn't catch that, I will link it in the description box for you below so you can check that out after viewing this one, of course. This week's video, we're back at some homemaking because we have been hit with some storms here and we will not be outside, but I do have to share with you what I got done this past weekend before these storms came. While it was still nice and sunny out there, I was able to get out there and dig up 2 new garden beds. I shouldn't actually say I dug them up because they were already dug, but I did have to clear them out and put that gopher wire that I keep talking about. It is a pain, and I ended up investing in a larger roll of it, and it's actually quite funny. If I can get some shots of that when the storm clears up a little bit, I'll go out there with the camera just so that you can see it here in the video. But it's this huge roll of this very heavy gopher wire, or at least I'm calling it gopher wire. It's about a 1/2 inch thick squared wire that I bought, and I invested in a larger roll just because buying smaller amounts of it, it's much more expensive that way, and I need so much that it really didn't make sense to keep buying smaller rolls of it. So I went ahead, bought the box of it, but the problem with this is every time I go to get wire out of it, I have to pull it out, and it's very similar to when you pull out aluminum foil and you pull up the sheet on how much length that you want, and then you cut it across. I'm having to cut the little squares of wire, and it's about 4 foot wide, so it takes quite a while for my little wire cutters to get across there. Not to mention I have to cut about 8-foot pieces for each bed, so I'm standing there with wire kind of over me, draped over me, and I'm inside the wire cutting. And this past weekend, as I was doing that, scrunched down and just cutting the wire, I thought, what am I doing? I could buy my vegetables from the store. And if you're a gardener, I know that you can relate to that in certain moments, because it's such grueling work and certain things that you have to do to get things going. And even when you have things going, sometimes you have to dig a new bed or you have to tear everything out, and it is a lot of work where it's just super hot outside. And that's usually where I start getting grumbling in the garden, is when it's super hot in the dead of summer. But anyway, I got them done and I was super happy afterwards, but while I was doing it, I couldn't even film it because it was just too much to do at one time. And I just thought, like, what am I doing? And I don't know if you ever feel that way when you're doing these sorts of things, but you just think, like, what is the point of this? And then after it's done, I'm much happier about it. So I'm super happy. We have 2 new garden beds, and I thought this week's video was going to actually be me filling those beds and replanting them, because I do want to get that done. I'm eager to get those planted, because here in California, we can plant year round. And so I just don't want 2 beds just sitting there when we could be putting them to use. But I will show them here in the video. So there's 2 beds, and it was a lot harder than it probably looks, because I have to dig those rocks that you see surrounding one of the beds out of the ground, because they were sort of stuck in the ground around the old bed. And I dug those up, I cut the wire, I put it down, and then in the other bed, it was kind of the same idea, because it's a log bed and I had to move the logs as best I could by myself and tuck the wire in there, but they're both pretty solidly in there. And I will be ordering dirt from our local nursery and having them deliver just a huge pile of dirt that I will be scooping into these beds, because when I buy those bags, I just have to buy so many that it's much more cost effective to just buy a bulk order of dirt. Plus I have so many other beds that I want to put in, and of course I'm going to be sharing them as they get planted and as I build them. This next year we're really looking for a high yield in our garden and not just sporadic yields of different crops. I want to really make sure that we have more than enough to not only have for ourselves, but to share with others. And I want it to be one of those situations where I'm walking outside and not having to go buy the organic produce that I've been buying, because it's just so expensive. And I really love being able to just walk outside, cut something from the vine or from the garden, and come in here and cook it. There's just something so magical feeling about that, and that's really what I'm going for. So you will see the progress as that goes. Today is a cozy homemaking day. It's raining. I love the rain. I don't know if you're like that or not, but that's one of my favorite parts of the winter time, is rainy day homemaking. I've cleaned the kitchen. It looks great. It feels great to have it nice and clean. And I have just a couple more things to do in here. And later in the video, I'm going to be, I think, making some ravioli for dinner. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the video, and I thank you again so much for being here and being a part of this community. Since using placemats, I have found that I can get away with using 1 tablecloth a week, whereas before I would need to change it out about every day or so. I highly recommend using them, especially if you have kids. This tablecloth is one of my favorites and is held up nicely. It has a beautiful embroidered pattern and tassel detail. I will link it for you below the video if you've been looking for a new tablecloth to add to your collection. The house feels instantly put right the moment I am done swapping the cloths out and putting my vase of flowers on top. I need to refill our napkin and kitchen towel supply. I don't use paper towels or paper napkins, and instead use cloth napkins and kitchen towels for both cleaning and general use. I will tell you that if you switch from paper goods to fabric, that you need to keep a separate set of kitchen towels for cleaning and stored away from the pretty ones because they do get stained pretty quickly and it's easy to mix them up. I know this sounds tedious, but I like to iron the napkins so that they are pressed and properly folded. This is actually one of the most beautiful things about homemaking because we get to do things the way that works for each of us. And for me, that means pressed napkins. Ironing is something I don't do a lot of, but I find I actually enjoy it. Just standing here, pressing the material, hearing the steam of the iron is peaceful, especially with the sound of the storm in the background. I keep several extra inside the buffet we have next to the dining room table so that there are plenty for guests. I need to get some bread going because we are completely out. I find that if we have bread, I can make quick meals more easily, so I don't like to run out. I will share the recipe for the sourdough loaf in the description box below. It's a great go-to one that does not require a stand mixer to make. I want to welcome those of you who have enrolled in my sourdough course. It's great to have you, and I look forward to hearing your progress and feedback. I will leave the link to enroll below the video if you have not done so and would like to. My starter is low, so I'm going to feed it quite a bit and let it sit at room temperature for a while. Then I'll feed it again and then put it back away for next time. Tonight I'm making ravioli using my sourdough pasta recipe. Another recipe I will share with you below. This is my favorite go-to recipe for making any kind of pasta, from lasagna to spaghetti and ravioli like I'm making tonight. For those of you without a starter, I will also link a basic egg dough recipe for you. For this recipe, I use egg, flour, and starter, and I blend it until it comes together in my food processor. I create a dough ball and allow it to sit for 10 minutes. Then I will knead it for 2 minutes and allow it to rest for about 1 hour before I start the ravioli. To fill our ravioli, I am using ricotta cheese, 1 egg yolk, Parmesan cheese, salt, pepper, spinach, and nutmeg. time to wind down and enjoy the evening. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys on the next one.